This morning, it's no different. This morning, I'm chatting to Morgane Danielou, who is the Global Communications Manager for Target Malaria. Now, it's a not for profit research consortium dedicated to developing innovative tools to combat malaria, a disease that continues to devastate communities across Africa. Target Malaria recently launched an educational video game called Target Malaria the Game. It's an interactive, hands-on experience that immerses players in the world of genetic modification, allowing them to understand the cutting-edge science behind genetically modified mosquitoes as a tool in the fight against malaria. Morgane, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us on 919.
Good morning, everybody.
How amazing and how exciting is this game? I mean, often, Morgane, you think of people doing innovative stuff, and then you think, well, certainly they can't raise the bar. I went to a malaria conference in Pretoria that was co-hosted by the South African Medical Research Council and the CSIR, and I was fascinated at the smart people in the room, presentation after presentation, talking about the challenges, cross-border malaria, and you guys come up with a game. So take me one or two steps back. How did you guys come up with this idea that we're going to use a game to educate everybody?
Well, we started off because the technology we are developing, as you said, is the development of genetically modified mosquitoes. And already just this technology, biotechnology in general, people are not necessarily understanding easily what it means. There's also a lot of misconception around mosquito, a lack of information around mosquitoes. And then when we talk about modifying their genes, it tends to really preoccupy people. So what we wanted to do is through a game where you can have this sort of immersive experience where you yourself do the modification, then it would be so much easier to understand what it takes to actually do a genetic modification on such a very small insect.
Wow. And look, we're talking about things like this gameplay experience, Morgane, to your point, is you're talking about like micro injection. You're talking about transgenic screening. These are like really big words if you're not in the malaria world, right? Because what does it actually mean? What is a micro injection?
So what we did is that we went to the lab ourselves, so the communications team and people who are not scientists. And then we met with the people who are doing these activities, the microinjections and the transgenic screening. So they're all molecular biologists. And then they explained to us in detail, and they showed us their equipment, their machines. And then we thought, oh, this would look so nice on a game because there's a challenge here. Because, so for instance, the microinjection is that you're going to use a very small needle to be able to pierce into the membrane of a mosquito embryo. And you can imagine already how small a mosquito is. So the embryo is really tiny. It's microscopic. So you have to view it under a molecular microscope. So then the needle is very small, and inside it has a DNA solution. So it's a liquid, and it's going to pierce through the embryo at a very precise space in the embryo that affects the reproductive ability of mosquitoes. And the objective is that we're going to target a gene there to make the mosquito sterile.
Yeah. Wow. I'm gobsmacked. It just sounds absolutely amazing. But you know what I do love about these games? These games are not just taking the player, the user through what is actually happening in the lab, but to the earlier point, it's providing a practical tool of education, but in a fun way. And who knows, down the line, depending on what age the person is that's playing, they could end up being that warrior against malaria 10, 15, 20 years down the line because of this game. This could pique their interest. This could grow the next group of scientists. And I love that you're bringing and engaging. But it's not just in this space. We've seen in other spaces too, whether it comes to space travel or building cars, that there's a lot of these simulation games at the moment that's really providing a first-hand, first-world experience of what that journey is on. And I think it's absolutely clever. Kudos to you. Kudos to the team for thinking of it. But practically on the continent, we've got massive challenges. What are you hoping that when I experience this simulation, go through this game, what do you want me to walk away with? And what should I be able to do with that information?
So you're absolutely right. Our objective is really to take the game to the continents. And so Target Malaria operates out of Burkina Faso, Ghana, and Uganda. And we've already started testing it with stakeholders in those countries. What we want people to walk away with it is first an understanding of what happens in labs or in sectaries, and not think that there's crazy science and have no idea of who does this work.
Yeah.
And so we want to showcase, it's an opportunity to showcase the work of the scientists. And this game was really invented by a scientist, Louise Marston, and she is like the top microinjector in the lab that we have in London, at Imperial College London. And she trains a lot of people. So we want to train the new generation of malaria scientists in Africa. And we want to encourage, as you mentioned, a vocation for young people to be interested in science, in research, in innovation. And then for anybody, any youth or any adults to just get familiar with what it takes with genetic modification, because we hear a lot about it, for instance, with applications for agriculture, like GMO crops. But the technology we develop is very different. It has nothing to do with that. So we want to explain what happens in the labs and show that we are open to visitors. It's difficult to bring somebody in a lab for real, so we can do it virtually with the game.
Yeah. And look, Target Malaria is well known and has a history of using innovative communication tools to explain science, right? And this obviously fits into your broader strategy for engaging public and stakeholders. In addition to the game, you've also developed tools like the Mozzie Drive. You've created interactive theater performances. So you're able to get closer and closer to the audience and deliver a message that actually resonates and lands. But what is the ultimate goal here? I mean, the game is part of the broader strategy. And what is the broader strategy?
The ultimate goal for us is to develop a type of genetic modification that has not yet been used anywhere in the world, called gene drive. And so we want to develop gene drive mosquitoes using the same technology that is in the game to be able to fight malaria in Africa specifically. And we hope to have this technology ready by 2030. And so our goal on the science communication side is really to get people acquainted with this technology, with these mosquitoes, get familiar with them, so they understand the promise that they hold, but also that they can raise all the questions that they may have, because it's never been used before.
Yeah. And I can imagine that the game is available on both Android and iOS. Do you need any special qualifications to play the game, or is it kind of really very easy user experience?
So at the moment, it's only available for laptops and not yet for your Mac, so iOS. But it is the next development will be that. And we hope maybe if we manage it to also develop a mobile version to be played on a phone. It's very low spec at the moment, so you can download it from any computer.
Yes.
And it can be played by children of any age or adults. We've tested it with children as young as 7.
Oh, wow.
And as old as I am.
I'm not going to ask you your age. You can keep your age a secret, Morgane. No worries. Okay, that is absolutely amazing. And the website that people can go, it's Target Malaria.
targetmalaria.org. And it's on the homepage. You will find a direct link to Target Malaria, the game.
Morgan, we love it. We love it. We love it. It sounds absolutely amazing. We appreciate you. We appreciate the organization. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much for having me today.
That's great. What an amazing innovation. Can you believe it? A malaria game that teaches you. It's actually called Target Malaria, the game. That was the global communications manager for Target Malaria, a not-for-profit research consortium dedicated to developing innovative tools to combat malaria. And they've developed a game. I'm telling you, we are really, really cooking on this continent, around the world. We're finding innovative ways to deal with day-to-day issues. The stuff that as some of us are very fortunate, we don't have to think about, but there are communities that are heavily impacted with the mosquitoes and the problem of malaria. So go to their website. It's targetmalaria.org.